The final chapter on Pittsburgh 250 has been written. It's called Making the Connections, a new book that summarizes community connections, one of 3 grassroots initiatives during last year's 250th anniversary celebration. Community Connections provided $1 million in funding for 100 community projects and programs across 14 counties, each one of them celebrating pride and progress. Dustin Stiver was the program director for the Sprout Fund. Cathy Lewis-Long is executive director of the Sprout Fund, also the co-chair of the Community Connections Committee. And Justin Hopper is the author of Making the Connections. And welcome. Good to see all 3 of you again.
Yeah, thank you.
Great to see you.
Yeah, well, it was one heck of a year, and I think the sheer geographic ambition and scope of Community Connections really set it apart. I think, Cathy, from anything like this I've heard about being done around a celebration anywhere in the country, I've never really heard of anything done the way Community Connections was done.
Well, it was an initiative where we wanted to get the communities involved, the people across southwestern Pennsylvania involved in the 250th celebration. We thought, what better way to do it than to ask them what was important to them and how could they make their mark at this important time in our history. So spanning all 14 counties, going small communities, large communities, across communities, and asking people to come together, think creatively, stretch their minds a little bit, and then invest in those projects and help to make those ideas turn into reality, all within one anniversary celebration. So it really was something very different. I think it brought new people together, really created a network across southwestern Pennsylvania for people to come together around an important anniversary.
I mean, $1 million sounds like a lot of money, but when you're doing 100 projects in 14 counties, it gets stretched pretty thin. People, I would think, really had to get very creative to figure out how to make something happen with these investments.
They really did. I mean, we had more than 500 applications for people's great ideas, and of course, when you divide $1 million, you do leave some behind. But I think one of the very unique aspects of the initiative was that communities decided what was important for them. So we had panels in each of the 14 counties who reviewed the applications and made decisions for themselves about the different projects in their community that was important. So as opposed to sitting here in Pittsburgh deciding how to make the investments for Community Connections, it was really the communities themselves that were able to make the selections.
And Dustin, you hit the road for a couple of years, basically, to pull this off. What really struck you, both about the process and what came out of it?
Well, I think the process generally showed us a couple of things, and I think the most important of those was that in many of the small towns we went to, whether you're in Waynesburg or Indiana or Butler, a lot of the challenges that folks were facing and a lot of the opportunities that these communities have were in many ways the same. And so I think one of the interesting things we saw is that projects and project managers, when they came to us with their ideas, they each had a little bit of a different tinge on how they wanted to approach it, but we saw many of the same things in many different places. And I think the projects that were pulled out of that, and part of the reason that the book we've now produced is organized thematically is because we did see that. There were a lot of community development projects in one place, or there was an interest in public art in another. And I think that one of the really important pieces of it is that I think that at the grassroots level, people are really starting to see themselves as part of the greater region of Pittsburgh, and not just sort of the parochial nature we kind of tend to have that, oh, I live in Indiana and this is where I am. But no, I live in Indiana and I'm part of this bigger thing. And it's more than just flying out of the Pittsburgh airport and rooting for the Steelers. It's a more economic community development type of identity that's going to be really important, I think, as we move forward. So.
Well, that is exciting if you believe that the whole region really has to work together to succeed together as we go forward. Justin, you were the storyteller. You wrote a lot about Community Connections as it went along, and obviously wrote the book on it. A couple of the stories that really struck you.
Well, I think, thinking about what he's talking about, what Dustin's talking about with regionalization and looking at the region as one big community and made up of these components, something that stands out is a place like Mercer County, where there were several projects that are related to transportation, which is an issue that, perhaps wouldn't be the #1 issue on people's minds here in the city, but is certainly the #1 issue regardless of what else you're dealing with in Mercer County. So a project like the C3 Community Car Care Ministry, which is based out of this guy's church, Pastor Phil, and Pastor Phil's bringing people in every Friday night and fixing their cars for free because it's a rural area where transportation is the #1 issue to a lot of people, and they don't have a big income. That's the kind of thing that we couldn't necessarily understand as a primary focus from down here, and that you also can't really tell that story by just looking at numbers or looking at charts or something like that about what impact this has, because maybe they're only helping 2 or 3 people a week. But those, in a small community like that, those 2 or 3 people, that, you know, that's got a ripple effect throughout those people's lives. And I think those are the kind of stories that we see throughout this, that we're finding instances where these projects might be small and maybe they're only $5,000 each or something like that, but the impact that they're having both immediately in terms of what these projects are able to do, and just in that idea of connecting these people together and connecting them to us down here in Pittsburgh or to their neighbors in Indiana County is a really big deal. And I think that that's what those stories are about, more than some kind of demographics or numbers served.
Yeah, it is fascinating, and the book is out. Cathy, how do people get a copy?
They can come to our website, which is www.sproutfund.org, and order a copy of the book. It's really, I think, a great testament to the 250 and would be perfect on just anybody's coffee table.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on really what was truly an astounding and amazing project for the 250th anniversary, and a great read, too.
Yeah,
excellent.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
And we'll be back in a minute with more of Our Region's Business. Stay with us.